Well, you kind of want to believe it if you're a Niners fan. The kicking issues they've had, you see the talent, you see it work out.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's up and down.
You get invested in a kicker, you're holding on to him through some really bad times when you would just cut anybody else. But he does have ton of talent. He can hit that friggin' 59-yarder to win, and it was puree, man. It was hit perfectly. Let's get a little 49ers. Jake Moody, another one of the people I guess all the people I criticize are great now. So let's just make sure we put that down. I get into the celebration of Jake Moody kicking 2 clutch field goals, one from 59 to win. Hit it beautifully in Las Vegas on Saturday. I will say it's a preseason game. He wasn't going to get cut if he missed it. He's not the greatest kicker of all time if he makes it. It's a preseason game. Let's see him do it in the regular season. We've seen these ups and downs with this guy. His confidence goes up and down. He's super talented. He's almost too talented, Dylan. It's like you see what he can do. So then when he misses, you're going, what is the deal here? It's just like, it's not one of those, oh yeah, you might make it for 59, you might not. Like, he's so good, you figure he can make it for 59. If he doesn't, it's in his head. That's the issue with him. I don't think he's that good. Maybe I'm proven wrong. I did find the celebrations, not the team celebrations. That's fine. You're happy you won. You're happy for a good guy. But it's like, oh, now it's defined. He's a great kicker. And anyone who dare criticize him, how dare you? I don't think they're even doing that in the 49ers headquarters. No, come on, guys. But we'll see how it goes. It's a kicker. Just once a kicker is kind of like that, it's like, it always is shaky. I very rarely like, it's a shaky kicker. We talk about a lot, and he's good forever. Like Vinatieri was great, and that's it. He was great. David Akers, while he was great, was just great.
Right.
You go up and down. Like, it's always going to be up and down, in my opinion. We shall see. That's just kind of hilarious. But he's somebody I've criticized a lot, so I better say he was really good in that game. After missing badly and then almost missing a 26-yarder in the same game. So it's just funny how you judge all these things. It's all good by me.
Well, you kind of want to believe it if you're a Niners fan, though, right? I mean, just the kicking issues they've had have gone back a while. I mean, you know, and again, right? You see the talent, right? You see it work out.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's up and down, and I get it, man. You know, I say,
I mean,
look,
he's so talented that's why he's still around, right? If he wasn't this talented, he would have been cut after last season. But they just have too much invested in him, which I think is a problem for kicker. Like, you get invested in a kicker, you're holding on to him through some really bad times when you would just cut anybody else. So, but he does have ton of talent. He can hit that friggin' 59-yarder to win, and it was puree, man. It was hit perfectly.
I mean, here's the thing, right? Is that, like, I agree with you, right? These guys that are up and down, they're going to be up and down forever. So, you know, I say Niners fans, enjoy it right now, because, you know, in a handful of weeks, I'm sure they'll be looking at their fantasy football, right? Oh, who's available on the waiver wire here? Who can replace this guy? Because that's
they are not actually enjoying this. Most of them, it's like they're like, no, why is he winning the job? Like I think most 49er fans understand that the roller coaster isn't what you want to be on with your kicker. You just want reliability, and then maybe he makes a 55-yarder, but like, it's not like baked in that he's going to be shaky from everywhere. But yeah, that's okay. I get it. He's a good kid. And in practice, you think he's the greatest kicker of all time. I keep saying, like, if you make it a practice competition, the guy's going to win it. He's fantastic. It's when it's a 44-yarder with a game on line in Cleveland, then you're like, he's probably going to miss this. So all good for that. It gives us something to talk about. We're coming down to the final preseason games. Cuts are on Tuesday. The Chargers are full of injuries, and the Rams have this quarterback who rarely practices. Got out to practice for the first time this training camp
yesterday,
and then didn't talk. Like, what the hell? Is there like conspiracy theories about this, Dylan, or like what is possibly going on here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's got to be some kind of health thing. I mean, he was supposed to practice Saturday, right? He didn't. Right now, nobody addressed the thing on Sunday. Then, you know, he takes the field yesterday. So, yeah, who knows? I mean, I think you got to feel kind of uncomfortable about it, obviously, right? I mean, it's, you know, we're getting very close to that Jimmy G situation we've been talking about for a couple of years now. I know, you know, again, they feel relatively good about him. I mean, maybe they kind of preempted all this a couple of years ago, but yeah, I mean, I just kind of assume he's not okay. I mean, if not, you know.
Well, clearly something's going on.
Yeah, you know, and the fact that the fact that, like, McVay too, you know, you could tell something's just kind of wrong just by the way he's kind of avoiding questions, and, you know, McVay's one of these guys. You're around him. You kind of know if things are going well or not, right? When things are going well, he's Mr. Sunshine, and when it's not, he's kind of dragging and a little bit. And you kind of see, right? Obviously, he's gone from being very specific about yes, he's going to be ready for the start of the season to well, you should ask Matthew about that. So, yeah, and that's obviously kind of the big, yeah, I mean, you don't have Matthew Stafford. That just changes the entire trajectory of your season. I don't know.
Or or really, if you do have Stafford, one hit and it could be over, right? I mean, like when you're this tentative, when you're this in question at 38 years old as a quarterback who has had a lot of issues, who had him last year, frankly, and finished great, but who has had health issues, that's scary for the entire team. And Jimmy Garoppolo is their answer. That I'll just it's an interesting way to look at other teams by what happens and how the opponent reacts to it. Yeah. My God, the rest of the NFL, specifically 49ers, if Matthew Stafford is out and they're facing Jimmy G, the 49ers are the freaking happiest team in the league. Jimmy G can still beat you. Not saying that about that. Just saying Matthew Stafford literally almost beat the Eagles. And that team without Matthew Stafford does not beat even close to the Eagles. Get the ball at the end of the game, the chance to win that game. The toughest game that the Eagles had on their way to the Super Bowl. So very fast. I mean, absolutely something that everybody's looking at, specifically everybody in the NFC West. It's scary, I think. Let's talk a little Jim Harbaugh. I just think it's kind of time. We've talked about him before. We talked about him before the Chargers hired him. We've talked about his reputation. We've talked about who he is, his personality. Obviously the Michigan national championship, and then the investigations that were ongoing even while they were winning that championship. Harbaugh then leaves, goes to the Chargers, wins with Chargers. All the penalties come down last week. Much of them pointed at Jim Harbaugh. And I have written that, you look at it, and everybody says this who's investigated the violations, the alleged or now the judged violations aren't that big a deal. Look at the sign stealing, that doesn't sound great, but I don't know how much he was involved in it. But again, it's the behavior during the investigation that really came down, the evasions, or they would say lies, misleads, just total shut down the investigation. And that has raised a lot of, I would say not fan cockles, because I don't think the fans care that much unless you're at Michigan or Ohio State, maybe. But national media, I get it. This supposed righteous coach who now, and I feel a little sensitive to that because some of the quotes they're pulling out are Jim Harbaugh to me and to me only. So, okay. But I'll give my spiel. I think people know my spiel. But you, as someone who's dealt with Harbaugh just recently, and I've seen him from afar, I'm sure you follow some of the Michigan stuff. I don't think Harbaugh's addressed this issue recently. Yeah. I don't know that he will, but how do you view this? How do you think LA views this as the Charger coach, who obviously with a lot of history before he became a Chargers coach?
Yeah, this probably kind of feels like nothing, I mean, honestly, I think like in LA, right? If it happens outside of LA, in most cases, kind of didn't happen. Maybe if it's the NFL or the NBA, it's a little bit different, but a lot of these kind of regional type sports, I don't think people are going to think too much of it. And I think also there's kind of the, when you talk about sanctions in LA, you immediately think back to USC, kind of post Pete Carroll, right? And the one thing about that one was, Carroll, obviously kind of similar situation, takes off to the NFL. The program got just destroyed here. Where to a point where even years afterwards, you could still kind of tie back, right, SC struggles to kind of what happened during, with the Reggie Bush stuff. It sounds like here, I mean, they're going to lose some official visits,
Yeah.
Now I kind of don't feel like entirely comfortable with, I think if you take a realistic look at this thing, probably right, sign stealing stuff like this stuff is probably more widespread than we think. I just happened to watch, the Lance Armstrong. I rewatched the Lance Armstrong 30 for 30 thing. And, sure, you have to apologize because, kind of the public that kind of doesn't know what goes on behind the scenes is right, demands that you do so that you can kind of continue to be a part of society. I do kind of wonder, for the people inside, right, how sorry are they, a lot of times when it comes to this stuff, and, I just kind of remember talking to Mark McGuire years ago when he was the Dodgers hitting coach about the kind of the steroid era. And, the one thing he kept talking about was how hard he worked during that time, right? And I think what he wouldn't say, right, is that like, look, everybody was doing it, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the one thing you can't say. Now that said, what does make me uncomfortable is that it happened like in a college setting, right? And now this is kind of the downside of when you kind of turn everything into a business, right? Education has become like a business. So teams need football teams to, make sure enrollment stays up and all that kind of stuff. But you would like for a college, right? Like in an ideal world for them, right? The University of Michigan to say, we're molding tomorrow's leaders. This is kind of completely unacceptable. And, look, we'll shut down our football program or whatever it is, obviously that's not the world we live in. So, I mean, yeah, but I think kind of the big thing is just the fact that the fact that like we won't see much carryover here kind of going forward, right? I don't think Michigan's going to be affected by this. Probably, again, makes it seem like less of a deal, and I do think it speaks kind of to the cynicism of the time. The fact that people are saying, this is going to cost the program 20 million, 30 million. I know Michigan's appealed that. But to kind of view it as like, hey, if $30 million could win you a national championship, would you do it? And a lot of people are saying, yeah, most schools would do that, right? The cynicism there to me kind of probably you could probably tie that, frankly, to a lot of the problems we're having in our country right now.
Yeah, obviously. And, a couple things there. I'll just say, you talk about, it's in a educational environment, university environment. Big Ten football is not that. It's just not. It's a pro, essentially a pro level, especially Michigan and Ohio State. I would say Penn State in there too. SC, UCLA now joined the Big Ten. They're running to this. They're running to this pro model, and you live in it. And I think Harbaugh. You said don't know that they're too sorry about that. I know Harbaugh is not sorry about any of this. That's not who he is. That's how you get to this point. And I can understand people not liking it, but that's what I've kind of reacted to. And again, I get the criticisms of him. There are things to criticize about Jim Harbaugh, but these are things that he is pretty open about. That's who he is. And the demands for apologies or something like he's not the person you thought he was. Like, this is who he is. This is who he's always been. He's left Stanford, and they weren't too sad to lose him, frankly, except for a couple people. Left the 49ers. Obviously, they fired him. He was the winningest coach there in decades at the time. Shanahan's now the only one comparable since Bill Walsh left, and left Michigan. And you can say, obviously with the trail of things behind him, but each one of those places loved having him when he was there. Right. And this is just who he is. And some of this is, again, I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying he doesn't try to seek out publicity. He doesn't do these sit downs and tell these people off the record. He doesn't tell me off the record stuff, and I get along with him probably as well as anybody in the media. He doesn't do that. And so when you don't do that, you don't get sympathetic ear when stuff like this happens. And he doesn't care. He doesn't care. So that's, I come at it as Urban Meyer was beating him. He did not like that. He felt that Urban Meyer was running a program above, beyond, through, ignoring the rules. And I'm not saying Harbaugh, all this happened just because of that. I'm saying it was a factor in it. He just didn't like the Urban Meyer thing. And that was his rival. And it was Michigan, Ohio State. And some of this, I believe, was in reaction to some of that because Michigan was not beating Ohio State. Then Michigan started beating Ohio State. Urban Meyer no longer was there, but that machine was running. It's still running. Ryan Day obviously just won a national championship. But if people know me, I like direct, aggressive, confident people. And if you do something wrong, you say, okay, I did something wrong, or Harbaugh's case, he will not say that. He'll just keep going. This is who I am. You want to punish me for it? I'll do whatever. And I'm going to keep going. I'm going to win. So I have little patience for the PR stuff, I guess is what I'm saying. And I think a lot of the reaction is the PR stuff. And I've never liked that about coaches, about, just trying to win the day with behind the scenes maneuvering. I don't like that. I just don't think you're not going to see Jim Harbaugh on the Big Ten, big noon, kickoff, whatever on Fox, or you're seeing Urban Meyer. You just won't see him doing that. He's a football coach. And at some point it'll all burn for him, as it will all burn for all of us. But I don't deal with this. Oh God, he said he was this, and now he's really this. He just fucking wants to win football games. And I respect that part of it. Maybe that's why that is clearly why he and I get along. And I respect people like that.